country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care.
Vote for me so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas.
Trump and Piers Morgan have killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer with his illegal strikes.
Dude, I've killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer, and I don't think I'm a bad guy.
Well, joining me to debate all of this is Rob O'Neill, the former US Navy SEAL who served extensively in Afghanistan and killed, of course, Osama bin Laden, the Republican congressional candidate Valentina Gomez, the Palestinian-American journalist Omar Baddar, plus author, activist and attorney Qasim Rashid. Well, welcome to all of you. I completely agree with you. There are perfectly legitimate...
No, other than the Quran. And that Afghani, that dirty Muslim that killed Sarah Beckster...
It doesn't actually say that, and this is the problem.
And Andrew Wolf, who is...
All right, let me bring in Qasim Rashid. Welcome to Uncensored. If you'd like to say what you want to say.
Yeah, I co-sign everything Omar said there. And I think fundamentally this is where we are as a country, where rather than talking about real serious issues, we have these firebrands. I think she ran in Missouri, got 7%, moved to Texas to try to lose there as well. Look, the reality is that, we need to look at the facts here. And the facts tell us that immigration is a net positive in every single way to this country. The facts tell us, a Northwestern University study of the last 150 years found that at no point in American history have immigrants had a higher crime rate than born U.S. citizens. We're talking about Somalia, and we're talking about Minnesota. Well, Minnesota is the 4th best state in the country to start a business and to live and to work. It's the 15th safest state in the country as well. And so, the difference here is that we want the constitutional principles of due process of law to apply. And this idea that we're a Christian nation is contradicted by the founders of this country itself. We are actually a secular democratic republic where people can believe or not believe as they wish without oppression. And I think it's critically important that whatever our political differences, we stand united on this basic principle that human dignity, human rights, religious freedom must be protected, even for those with whom I disagree, because at the end of the day, that's what the First Amendment requires. That's what the Constitution requires. If we lose that principle, then we deteriorate into fascism and anarchy, and I don't think anybody wants that.
Rob O'Neill, what do you feel about this? I do feel that rhetoric matters when we talk about these things. I do think that some of the language we've just heard from one of the other panelists it's appalling, disgusting, bigoted. It just should be called out for what it is, whether you're on the left or right. It makes a difference to me. But what do you feel about this? I just feel these debates should be had without descending into blanket bigotry. And on the wider point about who the United States should let in, what is your view of that? I mean, obviously America was founded in a very multicultural way, right? It was the place that everyone could come to.
America wasn't founded by grabbing a bunch of dudes from other countries, bringing them here, giving them free apartments and welfare. It was by people who wanted to escape religious persecution, and they started building things, not just coming here getting handouts. I mean, I've been a lot of places and I've seen a lot of people, and some of the most welcoming people I've met were in a war zone in Ramadi. Like, I've seen it, and you can't just say these people bad, these people good. The conversations need to be had, but again, you need to be realistic. And as soon as the truth is told and you don't like it, you just say racist. You're not going to build anything up.
Let's talk about the truth there, Piers. I got to jump in here. When we talk about the founding of America, it was founded by European colonizers, built on the backs of enslaved Africans and on the genocide of indigenous people. To claim that it wasn't, just a free handout, it literally was. The Homestead Act, which was finally repealed in 1987, gave hundreds of millions of acres of free land to white European immigrants while denying them to the descendants of enslaved Africans. And so even to this day, the single demographic, the largest demographic on public welfare are white Americans. And studies have been done on this.
What about the 6,000 slaves that died building the World Cup venues for the Middle East in 2020?
And we condemn that too. And that's the
modern slavery right now. Don't throw that slavery
between me and you, my friend.
We were the first to end it.
And that is the difference between me and you. I have no problem condemning that slavery by Qatar during the World Cup. I have zero.
Why don't you lead with that? That was the most recent.
Why are we not holding them accountable? The difference is that I want there to be accountability and restitution there, but there is no accountability and restitution or reparations for the enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered genocide. And we rewrite this history. Well, we built up our bootstraps. No, you didn't. You built up on the backs of the enslaved Africans. And to the comment that Islam is new to America, 1/3 of those Africans were Muslim, who were forced into Christianity, who were beaten and murdered and raped. This is the legacy of this country. And for us to move forward,
the legacy of the world, bro. The legacy of the world, the greatest country in the world. That's what I'm doing, dude.
With a known war criminal and you're trying to lecture me. I'm agreeing. We shouldn't be supporting those people. My question to you is, why do you continue to support a president who is rubbing elbows with MBS, who, Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth have killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer with his illegal strikes, which are clearly a violation of international
Well,
law.
all right, let me ask, all right, hang on, please. Let me ask Robert, hang on, please.
And the previous point, too, about bringing up Jeffrey Dahmer, dude, I've killed more people than Jeffrey Dahmer, and I don't think I'm a bad guy.
That's not the high bar.
The truth is, we need,
That's what you are. You're just a bigot.
This is the kind of genocidal rhetoric.
They belong
that
in their
we
Muslim
understand.
nations.
As we have
any
asylum
person
in this
in the United States, I am the only one that has the guts to say it.
Oh, there's nothing courageous about being a bigot.
There's nothing courageous about being a bigot.
I'll be very clear.
Yeah.
The United Kingdom needs to grow a pair of balls and have some guns.
Actually, I'm very glad the United Kingdom doesn't have
let me say
anybody
something
like
here,
you.
Piers.
Omar,
the United Kingdom, not too long ago.
I think that Valentina has given away how little she knows or understands about the world.
Valentina, let Omar speak, please. Omar.
All right, Omar, go ahead.
I mean, again, she has given away how dumb she is with this challenge of name somebody else who's committed an act of terrorism. I mean, everybody in the United States is familiar with cases of Christian extremists blowing up abortion clinics. We know that there is a problem with child soldiers in parts of Africa, of Christian child soldiers. We know there's a problem with a Jewish fanatic in Montana at one point who shot a bartender over a non-kosher drink. We know that there's cases of Jewish fanatics in Israel stabbing people at a gay pride parade. And we see the fanatics who are right now engaging in this onslaught in Gaza, religiously motivated. But all of us have the basic decency and common sense not to paint with a broad brush and say that this is representative of the entire Jewish community or the entire Christian community. And the same logic applies perfectly in this case. But she's literally so clueless. She's under this fanatical impression that only Muslims commit acts of violence. Frankly, I appreciate you standing up for me, Piers, in this case, but to have somebody this dumb and hateful and to not be insulted by them on a program would take away from my sense of dignity and self-respect. It is reaffirming that I'm a decent human being that I have somebody like that actually directing all this cheap, pathetic name calling at me.
I always go back to the data, and what the data repeatedly tells us is that our policies now are based on lessons learned from history. After World War II, after Jewish people suffered the atrocities of the Holocaust, millions murdered by Hitler in the Holocaust, the United States realized, hey, we should have allowed Jewish people to enter and seek refuge here before this atrocity occurred. And hence the asylum system was established so that people could come here fleeing their lives for safety, to go through a thorough vetting process, and then be admitted to this country. The Cato Institute did a phenomenal study on this and found that you can count literally on one hand how many asylum seekers have actually caused harm or violent harm to the United States. Literally on one hand. That's not an exaggeration. And this is a conservative think tank, mind you. They calculate that the chances of an American being killed by an asylum seeker is 1 in 4 billion. That, by the way, is about 4,000 times less likely than to suffer a mass shooting or a shooting in this country. And that's the real issue, right? We have 380 mass shootings, predominantly, almost all by Christian and predominantly by men. But we don't demonize all Christians for this. We don't demonize all men for this. We recognize that there's a specific issue that we need to have a thoughtful, fact-based solution to. And we build better gun safety legislation around that. Immigration has to work the same way. We recognize that our immigration system is not functional, it's unjust, it's broken. And we solve that not by just demonizing swaths of people or by banning or ending immigration, because that's going to ultimately hurt the United States. We do that by having a more thorough, more robust vetting system, a more thorough, robust immigration system, more immigration judges, more attorneys to process these claims. I've done this work for 15 years. I've worked with Afghan refugees and asylees for decades. And what I'm here to tell you is that they want the exact same thing that every person in the United States want: peace and safety. Nobody wanted the U.S. to invade them. Nobody wanted the Taliban to take over. Nobody asked Donald Trump to release 5,000 Taliban terrorists into the field as part of his negotiation tactics, which was atrocious. These are ordinary human beings. And the fact, and again, the data, I come back to that, tells us that you can literally count on one hand how much harm has been caused. In reality, we need to find ways to work together and build a stronger union that way.
Okay, let me ask Rob O'Neill.
The Muslim wants to
no, sorry, Valentina, your name isn't Rob O'Neill. I'm asking Rob O'Neill a question, right? I just think most Americans, they probably feel there's a line to be drawn here. If you have been in the country for a long period of time and you are law-abiding and contributing and paying taxes and all the rest of it, and you've had kids there, it's that I think is exercising a lot of the antipathy towards what are otherwise very successful immigration policies.
I mean,
Piers,
there's
the reality
absolutely
is
a
that if you
legitimate
came
Sorry,
here
policy
Valentina,
debate
for
to
Omar.
have about immigration.
Yeah, Omar.
There's obviously a legitimate debate to have around immigration, but what we are seeing with this administration is this sadism, really taking pleasure in making other people's lives difficult, doing an ASMR video on the sound of chains of immigrants who are being chained up to be shipped overseas to different countries. I mean, that's really the problem is with the ways these raids are taking place, kidnapping people off the streets, often leaving children stranded or using children to lure parents out of a house in order to get a hold of them. In many cases, arresting American citizens on suspicion that they might be undocumented immigrants. And you have people dying in ICE custody. This is the scandal. This isn't about the policy debate about what our border should be open or not. Americans can have that debate, but the level of sadism and xenophobia and this taking pleasure in the suffering of immigrants has been utterly, utterly despicable and uncalled for. And you see it in the comments that you've had earlier on with the representative from the Trump administration that you had on the show, saying, what is your message to immigrants or to the Muslim community or whatever? And they have no answer to any of it. All they have is doubling down on cruelty in the name of national security, and that's no way to run a
Piers,
country.
I'll just add to Omar's
I
really
definitely
thoughtful
have an
comments.
answer.
We were promised by the Trump regime that he would go after violent criminals. The own data from the DOJ shows that here in Chicago, where I live, more than 97% of the people that they have trafficked and rounded up and kidnapped have no criminal record whatsoever. 70% of the people in North Carolina, no criminal record whatsoever. ProPublica found that they have rounded up and arrested 170 U.S. citizens. These are people who are actual citizens, but because they're of Latino ethnicity, they're being targeted. Another study by the ACLU found that pregnant women are being rounded up and suffering miscarriages because they're being tortured in these ICE gulags. None of this is due process. None of this is what Americans asked for. If we want true safety, we can do so, but it's going to require upholding the Constitution, not just shooting from the hip as this administration.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you all very much for an interesting debate.